And now we will talk Campbell Fighting Camels football with a very familiar voice here on Pirate Radio and in Eastern North Carolina. He is Chris Hemeyer, voice of those Campbell Fighting Camels, joining us today. Chris, always great to chat with you. How you doing, man?
Hey, great. Thank you so much, Cliff. Thank you for having me on. It's like Throwback Thursday. That last segment featuring Wes Hines, I don't know if I'll be able to bring the entertainment like our old friend. Good to hear you, Wes.
Good to hear you too, buddy.
Yeah, we also, and yeah, thank you for classing up the joint this segment, Chris. We needed a reset from segment one there, but we were going over your resume. So here at Pirate Radio, you have been the host of the Fifth Quarter Call-In Show, also the Extra Point. You worked at WCTI 12. You were the voice of the Kinston Indians. You called some East Carolina games. What did we leave out? I'm sure there's a lot more you've done over the years.
Yeah, the voice of Lenore Community College basketball. Surprised you didn't find that out.
The Lancers
in the resume there. Yeah, I've been lucky enough to, when I first moved out to Eastern North Carolina, and we're talking over 20 years now, which is crazy. The picture that you have up on Facebook and YouTube, I look nothing like that.
I was going to say you still look the same, but
gray. It's been a long 20 years, but I did a lot of stuff for New Bern and local high schools in Craven County, and been lucky enough to do some state championship football and basketball games, a lot of Kinston high school stuff too. So it's been a lot of fun, man. A lot of fun to do a lot of things over there over the years in Eastern North Carolina, indeed.
And I believe did I hear you on ESPN Plus for some ECU games this year?
Yeah, that has been a lot of fun for the past 2 seasons. Some of the guys that were still at ECU when I was there, I did the first half of the baseball season for ECU on radio in 9, 10, and 11, back in the Billy Godwin era. And so a lot of those same people are there. And so when you guys and ECU got the ESPN Plus deal, they needed some people to do some things from time to time. So they were awesome and called, and it's been fun to be in the booth and do some ECU baseball and everything like that. So yeah, it's been fun to get back out there a lot over the last couple of years.
That's awesome. You still got some fans here in the eastern part, Chris, of course, and this is going to be a shocking answer to me and most. How long have you been at Campbell now? What year are you entering?
I started in August of 2011.
Wow.
This will be season number 11, which, yeah, time certainly flies, but it's been so much fun. It seems like talk about something new and exciting that's happening here at Campbell every time you've had me on. You've had me a lot on over the years, but it's been fun to kind of be with the university and the athletic department as Campbell has really changed pretty much everything here in Bowie's Creek over the past 10 years.
And yeah, Chris, I have had you on quite a bit to talk Campbell hoops when they run into the Pirates or when they're making a run in the conference tournament. Also Campbell baseball, because those teams play a home and home each and every year. And in all those chats, we have talked a little Campbell football and talked about East Carolina and Campbell competing on the football field. And I feel like we've been talking about it for a decade now, and it's going to happen this year at Dowdy Ficklin Stadium, Chris. And it's going to be interesting to see Mike Minter's orange and black team roll out on the field at Dowdy Ficklin Stadium.
How about that? It is certainly a benchmark for the Campbell football program, and the reason why it seems like we've been talking about it for a long time, it's been on the schedule for 5 years. This is the 15th season of the rebirth of Campbell football. This is just the 5th year that they're playing FCS scholarship football. So Campbell wasn't even eligible to play ECU. They were non-scholarship FCS, and they played in the Pioneer Football League Conference. Davidson is in it, and a bunch of other schools that have either had a football program for 100 years or are starting a football program. So this is the 5th year of scholarship football for Campbell in the Big South Conference, and this will be the biggest stadium by far that Campbell will play in, and it's going to start an interesting run. Campbell plays ECU this year. Next year they'll go to UNC, and then 2 years from then in 2024, Campbell will play NC State. So this starts a fun run of Campbell football going up to that next level and really getting the word out that Campbell does have a scholarship football team playing all the big boys in the state. It's going to be a lot of fun. It'll be the biggest place Campbell has ever played. You know, all of Bowie's Creek will come up there to see him play the purple and gold.
Oh, yeah. We'll see some orange in the stadium that Saturday in September. It'll be East Carolina and Campbell. Chris Hemeyer will be on the call for the Fighting Camels. And, Chris, as we know, just because you're a good football player doesn't mean you're going to be a good football coach. And also, just because you're not a good football player doesn't mean you can't be a great coach. Well, Mike Minter left the NFL game in 2006 as a Panther his entire career, and then in 2013 he was the head coach, and a pretty young head coach, of the Campbell Fighting Camels, and he is still there, Chris. So what is it about Mike Minter that has allowed him to take what he learned on the football field and now teach the young guys, because he's had success there, and he's been there a while now?
He knows how to reach out to these players, because he has been a player before, and at a championship level. You know, he was a two-time national champion at Nebraska, and of course a decade-long career as the Panther that everybody knows. When he was with the Carolina Panthers, not only a great player, but he was beloved by the media. He was the one guy in that locker room that you could go to after a big win or a big loss, and he's been able to take that knowledge of football, that knowledge of people, and being able to connect with people, and he's put Campbell football on the map. He came here in Campbell football's sixth season, and he has brought that spotlight onto Campbell, and he has carved out some success. You say, he's been here for nearly 10 years now. He took the team from non-scholarship to scholarship. That has been a process. He put together 3 straight winning seasons as they started this scholarship football progress before COVID. And then just this past year, he signed the #1 recruiting class in all of FCS football. And that is just an incredible feat for a program that, again, is just in its 5th year. And that has been the big headlines and the big talking points of the next step for this football program. Not only playing FBS teams like ECU, but putting together talent on the field that they really think can win a conference championship and go to the FCS playoffs. But it's just incredible what he has done in this fledgling program, this new program, to put together the top FCS recruiting class in the entire nation.
That is very impressive. Chris Hemeyer joining us. Chandler, was Mike Minter a little before your time? Do you remember Mike Minter?
That was, before my time. I was starting to watch Carolina Panther football in 2010, so I missed the Mike Minter days of football.
You don't know Chris Berman's nickname on NFL Primetime for Mike Minter?
No, I do not.
Mike After Dinner Minter.
Mike After Dinner Minter. That
was the Bermanism there on NFL Primetime back in the day. Chris, another famous name on this coaching staff, a guy that had a bad Saturday at Dowdy-Ficklin Stadium, and hopefully for Pirate fans, those memories affect his coaching when he rolls in this September. But Pat White, he was a great on the football field, a lot of fun to watch at West Virginia. How about bringing him into the fold there in Bowie's Creek?
Man, it's been a lot of fun. Pat White, you talk about West Virginia, he had that bad day at ECU. He hadn't had a lot of bad days. When he came, you remember how successful he was, but you forget when he left college and he played all 4 years, he had the NCAA QB rushing record. He had something like 56 passing touchdowns, 47 rushing TDs in his career. He started and won 4 straight bowl games. He was one of the best collegiate football players and quarterbacks, the two-way guys, really of all time. So it's been a lot of fun to see someone like that come in, and that is something that Coach Minter has here in really the last couple years of his coaching tenure. When he's putting together coaching staffs, he's getting great college guys, NFL guys to come on. You go back to the Panthers, Reggie Howard, his former secondary mate back on those Panther teams that he was on that 2004 Super Bowl team. He is the co-defensive coordinator right now. Reggie Howard is, and then Dee Brown, who was a great college player alongside Donovan McNabb at Syracuse, had an NFL career as well. He has come here to be the running back coach. So that's a new thing that Coach Minter has done. He's like, hey, I've had success being a former great. Let's bring some of these other ultra talented guys in and do what I did, taking what I know and teaching it to the next generation of football players. So it's a lot of fun to be around because you go into the coach's office and there's some famous dudes hanging.
Yeah, that is pretty neat. And if a coach or a player is questioning their coach, one of those coaches can just pop on their highlight reel, and that should perk the player up and know you should listen to these guys. They know what they're talking about. Chris, what kind of offense is Coach Mentor and Campbell running there in Buies Creek, and what will we see on the field? Is it wide open? Is it ball control? What do they want to do offensively?
It's going to be wide open this year, and it's going to be something that you haven't seen on tape yet. After this past year, Campbell had, coming into the season, a two-way quarterback by the name of Haj Malik Williams, who was a preseason offensive player of the year in this Big South Conference way back. You say way back, but way back before COVID in 2019. He got injured in the second game of the season, and Campbell finished up the season with a bunch of injuries. Coach Minner, who had expected a lot from the season, he really retooled his entire offense. So it's a brand new offensive coordinator. Pretty much everyone is new on the offensive side of the ball. We haven't seen a lot of it yet because a lot of quarterbacks and a lot of key offensive players were getting healthy in the spring, but we've been told it's going to be a much faster pace. And so they really think, especially with this influx of talent, and they're going to play some of those guys, those 4 stars and 3 stars recruits that they got coming into the program in that number 1 FCS class. So they've got a lot of talent, they've got a lot of speed, and they have one of the most really electric quarterbacks, not only in the Big South Conference, but really beyond in FCS. He was a freshman All-American back in the day. One of those guys, like Pat White, that can turn a blown offensive line play into a big run. He can scramble, but also he can throw as well. So you should be able to see some exciting stuff at least for the first quarter or so. Again, when you go into the bigger stadiums and you play the bigger team, especially a Pirate team where so much is going to be expected of them, it's a whole different level, and I'm sure Campbell will see that in September.
Talking to play-by-play voice of the Campbell Fighting Camels, Chris Hemeyer, today here on Pirate Radio Live as we get you set for the 2022 football season. Chris, who on the schedule is the marquee game for Campbell fans? Who do they look at and say, can't wait to play those guys? Is there a rival or two you're looking forward to this year in the Big South?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, like I pointed out, when ECU got put on the schedule, this one has been circled by a lot. Especially, it's going to be a night game at 6 o'clock. So like I said, they're going to shut down Buies Creek that night and bring everybody up there. But Gardner Webb is a big rival in the conference and on the football schedule as well, because they are almost a mirror school in many ways of Campbell, but on the other side of Charlotte, 45 minutes away from a big city, just like Campbell is to Raleigh, out in an area that's quickly becoming a suburb of Raleigh, and a smaller school that takes a lot of pride and has a lot of success in athletics. So that's a big game on the schedule. But again, it's going to be a lot of fun, not only going to ECU, but also on the schedule. Speaking of a highly ranked FCS recruits, Campbell's going to go out and play Dion's team at Jackson State. That's on October 22nd. Of course, he and his son and the number 2 recruit in the entire nation was on the Sports Illustrated cover. So that's going to be an odd, in the middle of the Big South Conference season, go on out and take on Jackson State. That should be a lot of fun because, again, it's the top 2 FCS recruiting classes out of the last 2 years. Dion has gotten all the headlines, of course, and rightfully so. But if things go right for Campbell and they can capitalize on this talent early this year, that might be a really, really interesting game to look at on October 22nd. I know everybody around here is excited about that as well. Yeah,
we were looking at the schedule, and Chandler pointed that one out. I was about to ask you about it, but Coach Prime versus Coach Mint coming up October 22nd. And that'll have a lot of eyeballs on it, a lot of interest on it for sure. Chris Hemeyer joining us. Chris, our our let's see, graphics, behind the scenes, does everything, big dog Glenn Griffin, wanted me to ask you, can you make a camel sound?
I can, but it's in my contract that I can only do that when the season starts.
Ah, darn it! We'll have to wait till September.
I heard your I heard your montage at the beginning of the show of everybody you have on making some weird sounds, and I'm sure that would be played the next time on.
Yep.
If you ever invite me back, Cliff.
Yeah. In fact, I was thinking about this. If Campbell pulls off the upset in Greenville, Chris, will you come host the fifth quarter? Because I don't want to take those calls, and you have experience. So, can you just drive over from Dowdy Ficklin Stadium and come to the studio after the game?
No doubt, it'll be just like the old days. The fifth quarter call-in show. I still tell people today, and you probably won't believe me, Cliff, because I know you've done so many of those shows that you probably have a little different take. But I did it for that one season, and it was an up and down season. It was a Pirate beat. The Pirates beat NC State at a game that ended at about 11:15 p.m. and we were on the air to, I think, 3 a.m. that day, taking some calls from the former Pirate alums that were in the military stationed in Afghanistan, and then we had the ones where you lose to a UTEP pretty badly on the road, and that. So that was fun to learn how to broadcast and how to ask questions and how to talk people down from the ledge, and then really pump them up once there was a big win. That was still one of the funnest jobs in broadcasting I've ever had, because as I knew even before that job, being lucky enough to be involved with ECU athletics, how passionate that fan base is and how much they care, and that show gave you a little bit of everything.
No doubt about it. Chris Hemeyer joining us. Chris, always great to catch up with you, man. Let's reconvene in September. We'll get you back on week of the game and talk about the early season and also preview ECU and Campbell. But have a great summer, man. We'll catch up with you this fall, Chris.
Hey, definitely. Thank you so much for having me on. Hello to everybody in the studio. Wes, it was great to hear your voice again, and we'll talk to you later, fellas. Thank you.
Appreciate it, bud.
All right, there he is, Chris Hemeyer. Great guy joining us, and a lot of fun, and has carved out his niche there as the voice of the Campbell Fighting Camels for about over a decade now. So good stuff, and that's an interesting matchup. It's a game East Carolina should win going away. Even Chris says there you might be entertained for about a half if Campbell can keep up offensively, but you would hope East Carolina could take care of business there. But Campbell has other fish to fry, I guess, playing in the Big South, and then that game against Jackson State you pointed out, Chandler. I'm kind of intrigued by that one now. Top 2 recruiting classes in FCS going head to head, and
also 2 former all-star DBs in the NFL,
90s, and
going at it. Mike Minter versus Deion Sanders. The game before that was Charleston Southern, who gave East Carolina fits last year, with Jack Chambers, the quarterback, the Mims kid at defensive tackle, who was all over Holt Nailers that day. Jack Chambers now going to NC State, and Mims now with the Pirates. So it might be a little
Chambers
easier task.
with Stein.
With Stein.
That's right. Good stuff. Let's take a time out. We'll